फास्टेस्ट क्रिकेट स्कोर अपडेट्स या सबसे डिटेल्ड स्टैट्स,
क्रिकेट के अंदर बाहर की खबरें
या हेल्दी डिबेट्स,
सबसे एक्यूरेट एनालिसिस
या फैंस का क्रेज, सबके लिए एक ही प्लेटफॉर्म, क्योंकि क्रिकेट मतलब क्रिकेट नेक्स्ट।
Welcome everyone. You're watching Cricket Next Live. I'm Shivani Gupta. Joining me is Chetan Narula, cricket journalist and broadcaster. Chetan, a big reprieve for the Indian team because they weren't really up to the task as far as winning the final test against Australia is concerned. But New Zealand has done the job for them. At least one of those rare occasions when New Zealand is turning out to help us. While you would have argued that Sri Lanka beating New Zealand in both the test matches was going to be an uphill task for them, still, do you believe that it says a little bit about where this Indian team is at, that they couldn't quite get to the WTC final with a win in this test match?
I think that's a little bit harsh because obviously the pitch in this final test match was not conducive. I think if we want to criticize them for something, we should criticize them for not winning the match in Indore, where the ball was turning square and they played some really bad shots to get out in the first innings and got to such a low score in the first innings. I think that was overconfidence and casual approach in Indore rather than because on this pitch there was never going to be a result. I mean, the kind of pitch that they've made in Ahmedabad, there was never going to be a result. And of course, like you said, yes, New Zealand doing us a favor. Sri Lanka have played well in this WTC cycle. They've done everything necessary to get to this point. They won a couple of series overseas. When I say overseas, against Bangladesh, one of them was against Bangladesh. But yeah, obviously the points is what matters. But they also drew against Pakistan and Australia at home. So those were vital points. New Zealand haven't done well in this WTC cycle, so. It was really an intense finish, much more interesting than what is happening in Ahmedabad at the moment. But yeah, I mean, 2-1 was always going to be enough if Sri Lanka didn't win 2-0. So in a way, India has done enough, and they've not done enough because obviously you needed 3-1 to win directly. So any criticism is for the Indore Test match, probably not for the Ahmedabad Test match.
Yeah, I mean, you and I discussed the Indore Test match, right? And the pitch that became the dominant theme. I just always find it a little fascinating that we just end up getting surprised by pitches in India. I just cannot get over that fact that somehow from test match to test match, even in a very crucial marquee series like Australia at home, we don't know. We get surprised by what turns up for us, right? We got surprised by what turned up for us in Indore. And here in Ahmedabad, the build-up was that here again it would be a rank turner, at least something that will turn from day one. The drier of the two pitches was chosen. And it didn't turn out to be like that. Do you think that it's a little bit fascinating how we're not in control of the pitches we deliver at home?
Yeah, it is fascinating. It is also a little bit weird because you actually needed to win this test match. The fourth test match is the must-win test match. Imagine if Sri Lanka had won 2-0 over there. So this was a must-win test match, and then you gave us such a flat track for this test match. So that is the interesting bit. The indoor pitch, there were a couple of factors. The domestic season's just gotten over. The match was shifted from Dharamshala to Indore very, very late. Probably they didn't have enough time to prepare the pitch, or the team management said that, give us an under-prepared pitch. The surprising bit was that it turned a little too much as compared to Nagpur and Delhi. Nagpur and Delhi I think they were fine pitches. It was just a lack of batting skill by Australia. However, when you make such pitches, the kind of pitches that we saw in Indore, when you make such pitches where the ball is turning 5 degrees even on day one, then it just becomes a lottery. It's not a test of skill against spin. It's just a lottery because even the opposition, which is playing three spinners, they can get on top of you. And this is what exactly happened. Some of the shot selection was bad. There was a little bit of overconfidence as well, like I said. So overall, obviously, India lost grip of that particular test match. And I think that is the biggest criticism of them in this series.
Chetan, I'm experiencing a bit of a problem as far as I think the link is concerned. Couldn't quite understand everything you said, but speaking of pitches, speaking of India getting into their second consecutive WTC final, I think that in itself is a good achievement. It's a big achievement. There was a little little bit of disappointment, I think, in the last final. I certainly remember feeling extremely disappointed because I felt like even in the final section against New Zealand last time around, we could have gone for it a little bit more. I think Virat Kohli's captaincy was a little under par. I was left underwhelmed by it. Just the drive was not there. We've got a new captain now. We've got a pretty, I mean, I would say slightly different looking team. What do you make of the prospects for the Indian team as far as this final is concerned? It's a different, ball game altogether with Australia, and I think Australia would have their tails up a little bit, especially the venue being, in England.
Yeah.
The conditions are going to be completely different.
Well, last time around, I think India did not select a proper team. The playing 11 was a little bit compromised. I think, given the selection, the conditions, it was a little compromised. I think New Zealand got their selection on the money, and obviously India did not bat well. If you remember, India did not bat well in the first innings, and they were trying to catch up in the second innings. It has been a case for the Indian batting lineup that they haven't performed well on challenging pitches as a collective unit in the recent past. And that particular test match obviously comes to mind. So, I mean, obviously, don't want to take anything away from New Zealand's win in that particular test match. Looking forward to this upcoming World Test Championship final. It's a little bit early, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fascinating match because it's been 20 years since Australia and India played in the final of an ICC tournament to 2003, and obviously India lost that one, and probably a bit of payback this time. I think India would also be very happy with the conditions in England because that would also give them a boost in terms of their pace attack. Jasprit Bumrah will probably not be available, but then you have Umesh, you have Siraj, you have Mohammad Shami. Then you can also bring in Shardul Thakur. You can play with two spinners and three pacers because India likes to go with five proper fast bowlers. So I think it'll be an interesting mix. I think it'll be a very, very good battle between two sides in those conditions. And remember, India has beaten Australia in those kind of conditions in both 2018 and in 2020. And obviously, a lot of people say that in 2018, Australia's batting wasn't there, but their bowling attack was there. So, a full bowling attack in both 2018, both 2020, and India beat them on both occasions. So I wouldn't say that India would start at second favorites. I think it would be 50-50 in that particular one-off game.
India's bowling is generally not the concern. And even without Bumrah, I don't think the bowling will come across as a concern. I think it is predominantly the batting. Now, I know that some of our Indian batsmen who were seeming to struggle, certainly Virat Kohli, who hadn't had a ton in 3 years plus, has obviously come back amidst runs. I don't think he was looking out of form per se,
No.
not for a long period of time at least. In this series, he was not looking out of form per se, but he's amongst the runs. And the concern is with the batting. But before I get to the batting, I want to talk about the captaincy. Like I said, I don't want to be highly critical of Virat Kohli, but there was a problem little bit here and there with his test captaincy. And certainly the WTC final last time around against New Zealand struck to me as one of those very clear moments when I was left
Yeah.
wanting as far as his final session tactics were
Yeah.
concerned. We could have gone for a win. We just seemed to settle for a draw too early, given what was at stake. Rohit Sharma versus Virat Kohli now. Now, Rohit Sharma is a slightly different captain. Do you think
Yeah.
that is going to hold us in better stead than, let's say, last time around?
Uh, I think it's a little too early to judge Rohit Sharma's captaincy in that sense because he's captain in only six test matches since he's become test captain. Yes, he's played this series very, very different conditions. I haven't been very happy in terms of the way he's handled Akshar Patel. Handling three spinners on such tracks is also something very, very different. So he seems to be obviously he's a very different captain. He seems to be a little bit not in your face aggressive. Obviously, that's not his personality. He's very conservative in that sense. I think his personality matches with that of Rahul Dravid. They're just absolutely in sync. The way Virat Kohli and Ravi Shastri were absolutely in sync. So you would see calculated decisions. You would see calculated strategies. I think the big factor, nevertheless, whether it's captaincy, bowling, that's all very fine. I think the big factor is always going to be India's batting in that one test match.
Yeah.
And captaincy comes into the equation if you have enough runs on the board. and if your bowlers can take wickets. If those two things happen, then captaincy takes care of its own. So I think
No, but the captaincy is important in choosing that playing
in
11,
choosing the
isn't
right
it? Now,
in choosing the
exactly.
right
I
11.
mean, yeah, with Dravid and Rohit Sharma, we've been wondering what's going on as far as the playing 11 is concerned across formats, right? So I think Rohit Sharma is going to be very crucial in terms of what team turns up. Now, as I think you and I both agree, the batting is going to be crucial. That is where we've been let down on most occasions. And it brings up the question of KL Rahul, for example, how long Rahul Dravid and Rohit Sharma both, continue to give him a long rope. Like, I'm not judging that situation. I think a little bit of what happened is unfair on KL Rahul. Some of the criticism went overboard for him. But yes,
Yeah,
ultimately, when you've got options, you've got to bite the bullet and give options to the other players because you've got talent waiting in the wings. Shubman Gill has made the most of his chances given to him. What do you make? I mean, Shreyas Iyer, I'm not sure what happens with him, but I don't know. But what do you make of the playing 11 and the best batting that we can put forward?
well, obviously there's a lot of time before that particular test match. So Shreyas Iyer, there's still the IPL to go. So obviously he'll go for scans, and we'll see what really comes out with him. With regards to KL Rahul, I don't see. I mean, if you talk just today, and if there was not the IPL immediately after this, I don't see him being part of the World Test
Hmm.
Championship squad. I would rather get somebody like a Mayank Agarwal, who's also had experience opening overseas. Last time around, India went to England. They wanted Mayank Agarwal to open, but he got injured, and then KL Rahul, he got to open, and it started a new chapter in his Test career. But I don't see it happening this time. Shubman Gill definitely is your first choice with Rohit Sharma. But as a third choice opener, I would want to see Mayank Agarwal. He's just coming on the back of 800 runs in the Ranji Trophy season. So honestly, I don't see KL Rahul in the World Test Championship squad. But we don't really see team selection just based on Ranji Trophy or test match runs anymore these days. The IPL or any recent form or any recent tournament, that always comes into consideration. So if KL Rahul goes to the IPL, scores another 500, 600 runs like he does in the IPL, the selectors will think, oh look, he's back in form. So they might select him again. But even though he will be selected on basis of IPL form, I don't see how Shubman Gill, you can remove Shubman Gill after that 100. When Rahul failed in Test matches, I don't see how you can remove Shubman even if Rahul is in the squad. The one area of concern for me is obviously the middle order, because if Shreyas Iyer is not there, because the way Shreyas Iyer bats is an aggressive style of batting. But if he's not there, and Rishabh Pant obviously will not be there, then where is your aggressive style of batting coming in the late middle order? I would personally, and I've said this on other Cricket Next videos as well, I would personally want Ishan Kishan to, keep wickets and play as a wicket-keeper batsman in that Test match instead of Shikhar Bharat. Because here you were playing Bharat because of the keeping skills on turning tracks. But over there, it's going to be bouncier tracks. The ball will come easily into your glove. So Ishan Kishan can keep wickets, and he'll bring an attacking style of batting to the middle order. So let's wait and watch what happens with Shreyas Iyer. But I think otherwise, the rest of the Indian batting selects itself.
Yeah, I think the good thing is that this series has told India the right mix. Of course, it's still
Yeah,
early days to say that because the conditions are very different when you play in India or when you play in England. So whether this is the right mix or balance remains to be seen. But I think in terms of batting, this is a more balanced side we've seen in a long time. And then of course the bowlers can be horses for courses. And in
yeah,
terms of our bowling lineup, we don't face that many issues in terms of just the breadth of the experience we have plus the talent we have. We can always mix and match. But the tendency to chop and churn too much is one of the remnants from Virat Kohli's era that has carried forward into the Rohit Sharma era, I feel. And I think that is one of the things that the Indian team needs to be very wary of, to not do too much chopping and churning needlessly. And this series has provided a perfect base, even though there's an IPL in between, but a perfect base for you to kind of continue from there on. And it's just one test match, right? The WTC
yeah,
final. So you don't really
yeah.
want to be going in with too many changes, isn't it?
Absolutely, I think I absolutely agree with you on that. And you were there for the T20 World Cup in Australia, and I was there too, and we both saw how they were not really changing and until the semi-final when they suddenly brought Rishabh Pant in. And obviously KL Rahul continued to open through that tournament. So I think they have, sometimes when they hit upon a formula, especially Rohit and Rahul Dravid, I think they want to carry on with that formula. And this particular test match, I think we've seen that formula come and take shape. The fact that they left out KL Rahul after Dravid said very publicly that we are going to back him, they left him out in Indore. Yeah. It showed that they were ready to take that step forward and try and grasp the situation, try and get a formula together, keeping the World Test Championship in mind. And even before the Indore Test, Rohit Sharma was talking about the World Test Championship. He was talking about how Shardul could have played in Ahmedabad, but obviously the conditions and the match situation and the series situation was not right for it. So they'll go in with 5 bowlers, probably 3 pacers and two spin all-rounders, because we have that luxury now. But as far as the batting is concerned, I think they have hit upon a formula. Shubman Gill to open with Rohit Sharma, and the rest of the batting picks itself with even Ravindra Jadeja batting at number 5 at times. So I think they've hit upon a formula. I think given the conditions, given the captaincy, given what's at stake, like you said, it's just a one match. So I think they will stay with that same formula. I think all of us would want to see them stay with the same formula.
Yeah, I wish there was a more proper build-up to a final like the WTC. I mean, you wouldn't ideally be wanting 2 months of T20 cricket that the Indian team is busy playing, and maybe a more proper, more engrossed, longer format build-up. But then that's how things go sometimes. Okay, so let's we will of course continue to build up to the WTC final more as it comes along. But Chetan, you're of the opinion that it's going to be 50-50, even in English conditions. You believe it's going to be, all to play for, no clear favorites?
Absolutely. And just before I hit on that, last time around after the World Test Championship in 2021, Virat Kohli said it should not be just a one match. You should have a best of 3 final where you can have a 3-match series where you play the first 2 tests. If you get a 2-0 result, then you don't need to play the 3rd test match, something like that. So I think that's a really good formula for a World Test Championship final. It should not be just a one-off test match, but it is what it is. And at the moment, it is what it is. So like I said, I firmly believe in those conditions, our pacers will do as well as Australian pacers. In fact, we'll probably have an advantage because we'll have probably 3 pacers and 2 spinners, with 3 of them working as bowling all-rounders. I see this test match as a 50-50. It's still 2 months to go, but I see this as 50-50. Absolutely.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you purely because I think our pacers are going to do very well in those conditions. If there's a little bit of question mark on the Indian batting, I think that slight question mark gets covered up with the fact that we're quite confident that our bowlers can deliver and can be really in the pace of the Australian batting lineup. And as good as the Australian batting lineup is looking, I think they have had questions as far as their pace bowling attack is concerned. They've had troubles. So whether they're going to be able to come and in that one-off test match just completely do as well as is expected, it remains to be seen. But a champion side like Australia, you can never really write them off. So that's our short and sweet chat for today. Good on Indian team for making it, even though it came because of a loss against by Sri Lanka to New Zealand, New Zealand's very brilliant last ball win against Sri Lanka. But it is what it is. Australia versus India now in the WTC Championship final, and we just cannot wait. We'll continue to bring you more of the build-up, Chetan, me, and the rest of the Cricket Next team. Thanks a lot for watching for now.
फास्टेस्ट क्रिकेट स्कोर अपडेट्स या सबसे डिटेल्ड स्टैट्स,
क्रिकेट के अंदर बाहर की खबरें
या हेल्दी डिबेट्स,
सबसे एक्यूरेट एनालिसिस
या फैंस का क्रेज, सबके लिए एक ही प्लेटफॉर्म, क्योंकि क्रिकेट मतलब क्रिकेट नेक्स्ट।